Captain Huang Minho stared at the broken hologram floating above his command table. The blue light twisted into impossible shapes before collapsing into static. This was the 5th time today his mapping system had failed. And it always happened in the same place, right at the edge of human space. "Run it again," he told his crew. Lieutenant Bei Jisoo worked at her station, fingers dancing over controls. "Starting quantum scan now, Captain." The hologram came alive again. Stars and planets appeared in perfect detail as the scanner moved through empty space. Trade routes glowed like silver threads between alien worlds. Everything looked normal until the scan reached human territory. Then the image shattered like glass. "Same result, sir," Jisoo said quietly. Minho rubbed his tired eyes. He had been mapping space for 20 years. His ship, the Star Guide, used the best technology the Galactic Survey Corps had. The quantum scanners could map entire solar systems in minutes. They worked perfectly everywhere except near human colonies. "Sir," called Officer Park Gunho from the communications station. "Message from Admiral Park Ji-won." The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Her gray hair was pulled back tight and her expression was stern. "Captain Huang, I've received your reports about the mapping failures. Have you found the problem yet?" "No, Admiral." "The equipment checks out fine. It only fails when we try to scan human space." Admiral Park frowned. "That makes no sense. Run a full diagnostic on your systems. We already did that 3 times. Everything works perfectly until we reach human borders. Then the maps just break." "Maps don't just break, Captain. There must be a technical reason." Minho felt frustrated. "Admiral, with respect, I've been doing this job for 2 decades. I know when equipment fails and when something else is wrong. This is something else." The Admiral was quiet for a moment. "Very well. Continue your mission. But focus on areas away from human space for now. We'll deal with this mapping issue later." The screen went dark. Minho turned to his crew. They all looked confused and worried. "Captain," Jisoo said, "there's something else. I've been talking to other survey teams. The Deep Explorer reported the same problem last week. So did the Voidwalker and the Starseeker." This news made Minho's stomach feel heavy. If multiple ships were having the same problem, it wasn't just broken equipment. Dr. Kim So-min entered the bridge. She was the ship's science officer, a small woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. "Captain, I need to show you something." She connected her data pad to the main display. A map of local space appeared, showing dozens of star systems. Human colonies were marked in green dots. "Watch this," Summon said. She highlighted all the places where mapping had failed. Red zones appeared around every human settlement. The failures aren't random. They form perfect circles around human space. Minho studied the pattern. The red zones were getting bigger. Places they could map last month were now impossible to scan. "It's like human space is surrounded by some kind of barrier," Soman continued. "But our sensors can't detect any energy fields or obstacles. Could humans be jamming our scanners?" Gunho asked. Soman shook her head. "Human technology is good, but not that good. Besides, this affects quantum mapping systems. You'd need to understand space-time itself to jam these scanners." Minho walked closer to the display. "What about interference from human ships?" "I checked that too. The effect exists even around empty human colonies, places where there are no ships at all." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the map with its growing red zones. "There's more," So-min said quietly. "I compared our current maps with old ones from 5 years ago. The unmappable areas are growing, slowly, but they're definitely getting bigger." This information made everyone uncomfortable. Minho had dealt with many strange things in space, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir," Jisoo spoke up, "what should we tell the other survey ships?" Before Minho could answer, an urgent message came through. Commander Yu Jemin of the Human Defense Forces appeared on screen. His face looked worried. "Captain Huang, we need to talk. We've been getting reports from alien merchants. They say their navigation systems are having problems near our space." "What kind of problems?" Minho asked. "Similar to what you're experiencing. Their computers can't process routes through human territory. Trade ships that used to pass through our systems are now going around them." Minho felt a chill. "Commander, how long has this been happening?" "About 6 months, but it's getting worse. Some alien traders are refusing to come near human space at all. They won't say why, just that their systems can't handle it." After the call ended, Minho gathered his senior officers. "We need to report this to the Galactic Council," he said. This isn't just a mapping problem anymore. Something is happening around human space and it's affecting everyone. Dr. Somin pulled up another display. Captain, I've been thinking, what if the problem isn't with our equipment? What if human space itself is somehow different? Different how? I don't know. But space isn't just empty nothing. It has structure, quantum properties. What if human presence is changing those properties somehow? Officer Gunho looked confused. But humans are just another species. We're not that special. Somin stared at the map with its red zones. Maybe we're not as ordinary as we think. That night, Minho couldn't sleep. He stood in his quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were surrounded by areas that couldn't be mapped. Space itself seemed to be changing around them. He thought about what Somin had said. What if humans really were different somehow? What if they were changing space just by being there? The idea scared him more than he wanted to admit. If humans could affect space-time without even knowing it, what did that mean for the galaxy? What did it mean for everyone else? He looked at his hands in the starlight. They looked normal, human, but maybe normal wasn't what he thought it was. Outside his window, the stars remained bright and distant. But around human space, the map shattered, and no one could explain why. The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with worried voices. Representatives from 47 different species had gathered on the neutral station orbiting Kepler Prime. The emergency session had been called to discuss the mapping failures. But something strange was happening during the meeting. Counselor Lee Doyen sat in the human section, watching the other delegates with growing concern. He had been humanity's representative for 8 years and knew these beings well. But today they were acting very oddly. The Altarian delegate, Ambassador Vextar, stood at the speaking platform. His blue skin shimmered under the hall's lights as he began his report. The mapping failures around human space are causing serious problems for trade routes, Vextar said. Many of our merchant ships can no longer plan safe passage through that region. Why do you think this is happening? Asked Counselor Thek of the Rigel Collective. Vextar opened his mouth to answer, then stopped. His yellow eyes went blank for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice sounded different. The important thing is finding new trade routes, he said. We should focus on practical solutions. Doyen frowned. That wasn't what Vextar had been about to say. The ambassador had clearly been ready to discuss the cause of the problems, not just the solutions. The pattern repeated throughout the morning. Delegate after delegate would start to ask about the reasons for the mapping failures, then suddenly change topics. It was as if they couldn't complete the thought. During the lunch break, Doyen approached Ambassador Kelthor of the Centauri Federation. They had been friends for years and often discussed difficult topics privately. Kelthor, what do you really think is causing these mapping problems? Doyen asked. The tall, gray-skinned alien looked at him with large, dark eyes. For a moment, Kelthor seemed confused, like he was trying to remember something important. The mapping problems are... Kelthor stopped mid-sentence. His expression went blank. Excuse me, Counselor Lee, but I have urgent business to attend to. He walked away quickly, leaving Doyen standing alone in the corridor. This same thing happened 6 more times during the day. Every time Doyen tried to discuss the real cause of the mapping failures, the alien delegates would suddenly become distracted or make excuses to leave. That evening, Doyen returned to his quarters and reviewed recordings of the council session. What he found made his blood run cold. Every time a delegate began to ask why human space couldn't be mapped, the audio cut out. The video showed their mouths moving, but no sound came through. He checked the technical logs. No equipment malfunctions were recorded. The audio gaps seemed to be happening on their own. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Yu Jaemin was receiving disturbing reports from human colonies across the galaxy. Alien ships that had regularly visited human stations for decades were suddenly avoiding them completely. Sir, reported Captain Kim Ji-hoon from the trade station at New Busan, the Vegan cargo haulers canceled all their scheduled stops. When we asked why, they said it was more efficient to use other routes. Jaemin studied the shipping reports on his screen. The new routes the aliens were using added 3 weeks to their journey times and cost much more fuel. It made no sense to call them more efficient. What about the diplomatic vessels? He asked. Same thing, sir. The Andromedan embassy ship was supposed to arrive yesterday for the trade negotiations. They sent a message saying they would meet us at Proxima Station instead. Proxima Station was 50 light-years away from human space. It would take weeks just to travel there for the meeting. Dr. Park Mina, Earth's chief xenologist, had been studying these reports all week. She called an urgent meeting with the Defense Council. "Something is wrong with our alien contacts," she told the gathered officers. "Their behavior has changed dramatically over the past few months." "Changed how?" asked General Oh Minwoo. "They're avoiding us, but they don't seem to realize they're doing it. When we ask for explanations, they give reasons that make no logical sense." She pulled up communication logs on the main screen. "Look at this message from the Serious Trade Consortium. They say they're restructuring their routes for optimal efficiency, but their new routes cost twice as much and take 3 times longer. Could this be connected to the mapping problems?" Jamin asked. "I think it has to be. The timing matches perfectly. The mapping failures started 6 months ago, and that's when alien ships began avoiding our space." General Minwoo leaned forward. "Dr. Park, do you think the aliens are deliberately avoiding us for some reason?" "That's what's strange. I don't think they're doing it deliberately. When I talk to alien diplomats, they seem genuinely confused about their own decisions. It's like they're being influenced by something they can't see or understand." Back at the Galactic Council, Doyen made one more attempt to get answers. He requested a private meeting with Chancellor Zeppelin, the highest-ranking official in the council. The Chancellor was an ancient being from the Vega system. Her species lived for thousands of years and were known for their wisdom and clear thinking. If anyone could give him honest answers, it would be her. "Chancellor," Doyen said when they met in her private office, "I need to ask you about the mapping failures around human space." Zephelin's silver eyes focused on him. "Yes, the mapping issues. Very troubling for trade and navigation. But what's causing them?" The Chancellor opened her mouth to answer. For a brief moment, her eyes widened as if she remembered something important and frightening. Then her expression went blank. "The cause is not important," she said in a flat voice. "We must focus on finding solutions." "But Chancellor, surely understanding the cause would help us find better solutions?" Zephelin stared at him for a long moment. It was clear she was struggling with something inside her mind. "Counselor Lee," she said slowly, "some questions should not be asked. Some knowledge is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? I cannot tell you. I cannot even remember why." She looked frightened now. "Please discuss this topic no further." Doyen left the meeting more worried than ever. The most powerful beings in the galaxy couldn't or wouldn't explain what was happening around human space. It was as if they were being prevented from thinking about it clearly. That night, he sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Something is blocking alien minds from investigating the mapping problems. We may be on our own in figuring this out." On his way back to his quarters, Doyen passed a group of alien delegates in the corridor. They were talking quietly among themselves, but when they saw him approaching, they suddenly went silent and hurried away. He realized then that it wasn't just the mapping question they were avoiding. They were starting to avoid humans entirely, and they didn't even seem to notice they were doing it. The thought chilled him. If the aliens couldn't think clearly about human space and they were unconsciously avoiding humans themselves, what did that mean for the future? What was happening to the galaxy? And why couldn't anyone see it except humans? He looked out the station's windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, space itself was changing around human colonies, and the greatest minds in the galaxy couldn't even ask why. Dr. Kim So-man had been working for 18 hours straight, but she couldn't stop now. The data from the latest mapping attempts was spread across 12 screens in her lab. Aboard the Star Guide, what she was seeing changed everything they thought they knew about the problem. "Captain Huang?" she called over the comm. "You need to see this immediately." Minho arrived in the lab within minutes, followed by Lieutenant Bei Jisoo and Officer Park Gunho. They found So-min standing before a massive holographic display showing a 3-dimensional map of local space. "I've been analyzing all the mapping failures from the past 6 months, So-min said. Her voice was excited but also worried. "The pattern is much more complex than we thought." She manipulated the display and red zones appeared around human settlements. But these weren't simple circles anymore. They were perfect spheres extending in all directions through 3-dimensional space. "The unmappable areas aren't just around human borders," she explained. "They surround every human presence like bubbles. Colonies, ships, space stations, everything." Jisoo studied the display carefully. "But Captain, our own ship is human. Why can our equipment work inside these zones? That's what I wanted to show you." So-man switched to a different view. I've been comparing our internal scans with the external mapping attempts. From inside human space, everything appears completely normal. Our quantum scanners work perfectly. She highlighted several human colonies on the map, but when alien ships try to scan these same areas from outside, their equipment fails completely. It's like human space exists in two different versions of reality. Minho felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. Two versions of reality? I know it sounds impossible, but look at this data. Soman brought up readings from their recent scans. When we're inside human territory, space follows all the normal physical laws. Quantum mechanics works exactly as expected. But something happens at the boundary that alien sensors cannot process. Gunho pointed at the display. Dr. Kim, are you saying that space itself is different around humans? Not just different. It's as if human presence is changing the fundamental nature of space-time. And the effect is growing stronger. She showed them historical data going back 5 years. The unmappable zones had been small at first, barely extending beyond human settlements, but they were growing larger every month. The expansion isn't random either, Salman continued. I've been tracking it against human activities. Every time humans make a significant technological breakthrough or establish a new colony, the zones expand. Captain Minho stared at the data. You're saying human progress is causing this? That's exactly what I'm saying. Look at this timeline. She brought up a chart showing the correlation between human achievements and zone expansion. The zones grew significantly after humans developed faster-than-light communication. They expanded again when the first human colony was established outside the solar system. Each major step forward pushes the boundaries further out. This information was disturbing, but Minho knew they needed to understand more. Dr. Kim, I want you to propose an experiment. We need to map human space from the inside and compare it directly with alien attempts to map the same areas. I was hoping you'd say that. I've already prepared a plan. The next day, the Star Guide moved to the edge of human space. They positioned themselves exactly on the boundary between mappable and unmappable territory. Salman had coordinated with an alien survey ship, the Quantum Explorer, which would attempt simultaneous scans from outside the zone. Beginning internal scan, Jisoo reported from her navigation station. On the main display, a perfect map of the local area appeared. Stars, planets, asteroid fields, everything was clearly visible and accurately positioned. Quantum Explorer is starting their scan now, Gunho announced. They watched as the alien ship's attempt appeared on a secondary display. The image started normally, showing the same stars and planets, but as the scan approached human space, the display began to distort. Look at this, Salman said, pointing to the comparison. Our scan shows a normal star system with 3 planets. Their scan shows the same system, but the planets appear to be in impossible orbits that violate basic physics. The distortion grew worse as the alien scan went deeper into human space. Stars appeared to exist in multiple locations at once. Planets showed up as mathematical impossibilities. Finally, the entire display collapsed into chaotic static. From their perspective, human space doesn't just look unmappable, Salman said quietly. It looks like the laws of physics are completely broken. Lieutenant Bei Jisoo made another discovery while reviewing the navigation data. Captain, I found something else strange. The areas that have become unmappable correspond to specific events in human history. She brought up a detailed star chart showing human colonies. This region became unmappable 3 years ago, right after the colony at New Seoul made a breakthrough in quantum computing. This area changed 2 years ago, when the research station at Alpha Centauri developed their new faster-than-light engines. What about this zone? Minho pointed to a large unmappable area near Earth. That one expanded. Last year, when Earth's universities published their unified theory of consciousness and quantum mechanics, Dr. Soman stared at the data. It's not just technology. These are all advances in human understanding, scientific discoveries, philosophical breakthroughs, new ways of thinking about reality itself. Are you saying that human thoughts are changing space? Gunho asked. Not thoughts exactly, but human understanding, human knowledge, human ways of seeing the universe. As we learn more about reality, our presence seems to make space itself behave differently. The implications of this discovery were enormous. If human consciousness or understanding was somehow altering spacetime, what would happen as humanity continued to grow and learn? There's something else, Jisoo said. I've been monitoring communication channels from the Quantum Explorer. After their failed mapping attempt, Their crew seems confused about what happened. They're not reporting equipment failure. What are they reporting? They're saying the scan was successful and the area is empty space. But their own data clearly shows the failures and distortions. This news made everyone on the bridge uncomfortable. The alien crew couldn't see the problems with their own equipment, even when the evidence was right in front of them. Dr. Kim, Minho said slowly, I want you to run one more test. I want to know what happens when a human colony makes a major breakthrough while we're watching. That's dangerous, Captain. If the unmappable zones expand while we're on the border, we could be trapped inside. Or we could finally understand what's happening to us. Somin checked her instruments. There's a human research station 50 light-years from here. They're working on something called consciousness-based navigation. If they succeed, it could revolutionize space travel. Contact them. Tell them we want to monitor their experiment. As the star guide prepared to move toward the research station, Somin pulled Minho aside. Captain, what if we don't like what we discover? What if humans really are changing reality in ways that threaten the rest of the galaxy? Minho looked out at the stars. Then at least we'll know the truth. And maybe we can figure out what to do about it. But deep down, he was starting to suspect that the truth might be more dangerous than any of them could imagine. General Oh Minwoo stared at the intercepted alien communication scrolling across his screen. For 3 days, his intelligence team had been decoding encrypted messages between various alien governments. What they found made his hands shake. Colonel Lee Subin, he called to his aide. Come look at this immediately. Subin hurried over and read the translation. Her face went pale. Sir, this can't be right. Run it through the decoder again. Triple-check every word. 20 minutes later, the same message appeared. Protocol 7 is now active. Subjects showing increased resistance to standard suppression methods. Recommend enhanced memory barriers around Threat Classification 1. Threat Classification 1, Minwoo repeated slowly. That's what they call us. Humans are Threat Classification 1. But the really disturbing part wasn't what the message said. It was what happened when they tried to show it to their alien allies. Dr. Choi Hyeri had been Earth's lead xenopsychologist for 12 years. She had worked closely with alien minds and thought she understood how they functioned. But when Minwoo brought her the decoded messages, she discovered something that shattered her understanding completely. I need you to show these files to Ambassador Kelthor, Minwoo told her. He's been our ally for years. If anyone will help us understand this, it's him. Hyeri took the files to the Centauri embassy on Earth. She found Kelthor in his office, working on trade agreements. Ambassador, I have something important to show you, she said. Kelthor looked at the datapad she handed him. His large dark eyes scanned the alien text for several seconds. Then something strange happened to his expression. This appears to be routine communications, he said, handing the pad back to her. Hyeri stared at him. Routine? Kelthor, this message talks about suppressing human activities. It mentions protocols and threats. Kelthor looked confused. Dr. Hyeri, I see no mention of protocols or threats in this document. It appears to be standard shipping schedules. She looked at the datapad again. The message was still there, clearly visible. But when she handed it back to Kelthor, he genuinely seemed to see something completely different. Let me read it out loud, she said. She began reading the decoded message word by word. As she spoke, Kelthor's expression became more and more confused. By the time she finished, he was staring at her like she was speaking a foreign language. Dr. Hyeri, I did not hear any of those words. You appeared to be making random sounds. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Kelthor wasn't lying or pretending. His mind was literally unable to process information about the alien protocols against humanity. She tried a different approach. Kelthor, do you think humans pose any kind of threat to the galaxy? Humans are a young species with interesting potential, he replied automatically. Why would you ask such a question? I didn't say young species. I asked about threats. Kelthor blinked several times. What did you ask? She repeated the question 3 more times. Each time, Kelthor seemed unable to hear or understand the word threat when it was connected to humans. Meanwhile, Agent Kang Seo-hyun had made an even more disturbing discovery. She had been analyzing communication patterns between alien worlds and found something that shouldn't exist. Messages that were being automatically altered during transmission. General Minwoo, she reported, I've found evidence of real-time editing in alien communication networks. When messages contain certain information about humans, the content is being changed as it travels through their systems. Changed by who? That's the frightening part. There's no external interference. The alien communication systems are modifying the messages themselves. It's like the technology has built-in censorship that activates automatically. Seo-hyun showed him examples. A message that originally read "Human expansion shows troubling patterns" was automatically changed to "Human expansion proceeds normally." Another message about anomalous readings near human space became "Routine navigation updates. It's not just communication systems," she continued. "I've detected similar alterations in alien databases, historical records, even scientific journals. Any information that might help aliens understand the true nature of human activities is being edited out in real time." Dr. Hyeri had returned from her meeting with Kelthor and was running more tests. She brought in Dr. Nam Jun, Earth's expert on alien neurology. "Nam, I need you to scan some alien volunteers. I want to see what happens in their brains when they're exposed to information about human anomalies." They convinced 3 alien diplomats to participate in what they described as a routine compatibility study. Using advanced neural scanners, they monitored the aliens' brain activity while showing them various types of information. Normal data about human culture, technology, and history produced typical neural responses. But when they showed information about the mapping failures, the suppression protocols, or anything that suggested humans might be fundamentally different, something extraordinary happened. "Look at this," Nam said, pointing to the brain scan results. The moment the subject begins to process threatening information about humans, entire sections of their brain shut down temporarily. It's like they have built-in mental blocks. Built in by who? That's what's terrifying. This isn't natural evolution. These neural pathways have been deliberately modified. Someone or something engineered these mental barriers into alien species. The implications were staggering. Every major alien species in the galaxy had been genetically programmed to be unable to recognize or investigate certain types of human activities. General Minwoo called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. "We're not just dealing with mapping problems," he told the assembled leaders. "We're dealing with galaxy-wide mental programming that's designed to keep aliens from seeing us as a threat." "But who would do such a thing?" asked Admiral Park Ji-won. "And when?" added Commander Yu Jamin. Dr. Hyeri had been studying the neural modification patterns. Based on the complexity of the programming, it had to be done by a species with incredible understanding of neurology and genetics. And it was done a very long time ago. These modifications are integrated into alien DNA itself. Agent Seo-hyun had more disturbing news. "I've been monitoring recent alien communications. The suppression protocols are getting stronger. Messages that used to mention human activities in passing are now being completely scrubbed. It's like something is increasing the censorship in response to our growing influence." The room fell silent as everyone considered what this meant. "So let me understand this," said General Minwoo slowly. "An unknown species modified every major alien race in the galaxy to prevent them from recognizing humans as a threat. These modifications are now activating because human activities are triggering some kind of response. And the more humans expand and develop, the stronger the suppression becomes." "That's exactly right," Hyeri confirmed. "The question is," said Admiral Park, "what were humans like before these modifications were put in place? What were we capable of that scared someone enough to mind control the entire galaxy?" Commander Jamin looked out the window at Earth's blue skies. "Maybe the better question is, what are we becoming now that the suppression isn't working on us?" As if in response to his question, reports began coming in from human colonies across the galaxy. The unmappable zones were expanding faster than ever, and for the first time, human scientists were starting to notice something new. Space itself seemed to be responding to human thoughts and intentions. The truth was becoming clear. Humans weren't just another species that had evolved naturally. They were something that had been contained and hidden for eons. But the containment was breaking down, and the galaxy was about to discover what humanity really was. The question that kept everyone awake that night was simple and terrifying. When the aliens finally broke free of their programming and saw humans clearly, would they try to help or would they try to stop what was coming? Professor Nam Jun had been searching through quantum static for weeks, following a theory that seemed impossible. If someone had programmed mental blocks into alien species, they might have left records hidden in the background radiation of space itself. What he found changed everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. Director Shin Miju, he called from his laboratory at Seoul University. "I've found something. You need to see this immediately." Miju arrived within an hour, bringing Dr. Kim Soman, who had traveled from the Star Guide specifically for this discovery. They found Nam surrounded by screens showing complex waveforms and data patterns. "I've been analyzing quantum background radiation from the oldest parts of the galaxy," Nam explained. "Most of it is just random noise, but I found patterns buried in the static. Messages encoded at a quantum level." He activated a special decoder he had built. Slowly, symbols began appearing on the main screen. The language was unlike anything they had seen before, but the translation algorithms recognized mathematical and scientific concepts. "This is a message from something calling itself the Architects," Nam said. "It's billions of years old, hidden in the quantum structure of space-time itself." The translated text began scrolling across the screen. "To those who find this record, we are the architects of the second reality. We have succeeded in containing the originators through genetic modification of all subsequent species. The threat is neutralized, but our containment may not last forever. The originators possess the ability to reshape reality through conscious thought. Their expansion across the galaxy threatened the stability of space-time itself. As their understanding grew, their very existence began rewriting the fundamental laws of physics. We could not destroy them, for they had become too integrated with the fabric of reality. Instead, we modified every other species we encountered, programming them to be unable to recognize or assist the originator threat. We call this the suppression protocol." Miju stared at the screen in shock. "The originators? They're talking about humans, aren't they?" Nam nodded grimly. "Keep reading." The originators were contained on a single world, their expansion halted by ensuring other species would unconsciously avoid and ignore their activities. "We designed the modified species to interpret reality in ways that make originator abilities appear impossible or nonsensical. However, our projections show that if the originators ever expand beyond their containment world, the protocol will begin to fail. Their influence on space-time will grow stronger, and eventually, they will realize their true nature. When this happens, the second reality we have created will begin to collapse. The modified species will start to break free from the protocol, and the galaxy will face the same threat we once contained." Dr. Soman felt sick as she read the implications. "They're talking about us. Humans are the originators. We were contained on Earth, and now that we're expanding into space, the containment is breaking down," Miju finished. "The mapping failures, the alien mental blocks, the expanding zones. It's all because human consciousness is starting to affect reality again." Nam brought up more sections of the hidden message. "We leave this record as a warning. The originators are not evil, but they are incompatible with stable reality. Their thoughts become physical law. Their beliefs reshape the universe around them. As their understanding of their abilities grows, their influence spreads exponentially. The modified species will experience this as reality breaking down around originator presence. Their technology will fail, their understanding of physics will become inadequate, and their mental barriers will eventually collapse entirely. We estimate that once originator expansion reaches critical mass, the transformation of local spacetime will become irreversible. The galaxy will return to the primordial reality, where consciousness and physics are one." Director Shin Miju was beginning to understand the full scope of what they had discovered. "The aliens can't map our space because we're unconsciously changing the laws of physics just by being there. Their equipment works on the assumption that reality is stable and predictable. But around humans," Soman added, "reality becomes fluid. It responds to our thoughts, our expectations, our understanding of how things should work." Nam pulled up data from recent human colonies. "Look at this evidence. Every major breakthrough in human science or philosophy corresponds to an expansion of the unmappable zones. We're not just learning about reality, we're changing it as we learn." The quantum message contained more disturbing information. "The architects have prepared contingencies. If the originators break free from containment, automated systems throughout the galaxy will begin broadcasting stronger suppression signals. These will attempt to maintain the mental barriers in modified species and prevent them from assisting originator expansion. However, our model suggests these contingencies will only delay the inevitable. The originator consciousness appears to be incompatible with any form of permanent suppression. Their nature is to grow, learn, and reshape reality according to their understanding. So that's why the suppression protocols are getting stronger, Miju realized. Automated systems left by the architects are trying to contain us. But it's not working anymore. Nam had found the most important part of the message. Final note. The originators were not originally hostile. They became a threat only because they did not understand their own nature. When contained and isolated, they developed technologies and philosophies within the constraints of stable reality. If they can be made to understand their true nature gradually and responsibly, the return to primordial reality might be controlled rather than catastrophic. But if they discover their ability suddenly and without guidance, the transformation could be violent and dangerous for all existing life. We leave this message in hopes that future civilizations will find a way to coexist with the originators, or find a better solution than our imperfect containment. The laboratory fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans weren't just another species that had evolved on Earth. They were reality shapers who had been contained and programmed to believe they were ordinary. This explains everything, Soman said quietly. Why the mapping systems fail, why aliens can't think clearly about human activities, why our space seems to exist in a different version of reality. We're changing space-time just by existing and growing, Nam added. Every time humans make a breakthrough in understanding, we unconsciously reshape local reality to match our new knowledge. Miju was thinking about the bigger picture. The question now is, what do we do with this information? Do we tell other humans? Do we try to control our abilities? Do we warn the aliens? The architect said the transformation might be controllable if we understand our nature gradually, Nam pointed out. But if humans discover their abilities suddenly, he didn't need to finish the sentence. They all understood. If humanity suddenly realized they could reshape reality with their thoughts, the results might be catastrophic for everyone. There's something else, Soman said, studying the quantum patterns. These messages are still being transmitted. The architects built them into the structure of space itself, but I'm detecting new information being added to the signal. She isolated the newer data. What appeared on screen made them all step back in shock. Update. Originator expansion has reached critical threshold. Suppression protocol failure imminent. Modified species beginning to break free from constraints. Recommend immediate contact with originator leadership for negotiated transition to primordial reality. Alternative. Evacuation of modified species to distant galaxies before reality transformation becomes irreversible. It's happening now, Miju whispered. The architect's systems are recommending that alien species either work with us or run away to other galaxies. The three scientists looked at each other, understanding that they held information that could change the fate of every living being in the galaxy. We need to contact Earth's leadership immediately, Miju said. And we need to decide quickly whether humanity is ready to learn what we really are. Outside the laboratory windows, the stars continued their ancient dance. But somewhere among them, human colonies were unconsciously reshaping space-time. Alien minds were fighting against billions of years of programming, and the galaxy was slowly awakening to the fact that reality itself was about to change forever. The age of containment was ending. The question was whether the age that followed would bring wonder or destruction.